How's it, guys? So today we're gonna do a Bronze Bream trace for our Freaky Friday tip. We're gonna start off with the floats. The orange always attracts the bream. So there is different various sizes of floats you find on the market or in your tackle store. You'll find the very small, which is generally around a 10 millimeter. The most commonly used by myself and I think Max as well is a 12 millimeter. And then you get the 15 millimeter bronze bream bead. We call it bronze bream, but it's orange bead float. Um, so there's different sizes for different reasons: depth of water, movement, how big the sea is, the area and structure you're fishing with is when we'll upsize or downsize the float. Obviously, on a rough sea, you don't want to be fishing a biggish float because it's going to tangle. I would rather use a smaller float, and then if the water is very deep and I want my bait to lift up a little bit more, I'll use a bigger float. Bait wise, it can go on and on and on. Okay, so I'm just going to run down through some terminal tackle that you'll need. A normal combination 5x6 power swivel. This is a single hook trace that I'm doing today. So we're just going to use one 5x6 combination power swivel. This is what we call a gummy stop. You normally find that in the bass section of your tackle stores. Hooks, it really goes down to your what you prefer. So if I like fishing a circle nowadays because we release a lot of fish and it's just easier and it's not going to gut hook. My favorite hook to use there is the Berkeley Fusion 2.0 circle. But time and time now and then you're going to get that finicky bite where you need that J hook to strike the fish. Then I will use a owner cutting point, never let me down, ultra sharp. This is a 3.0, but just to show you guys the packaging, it's the same packaging, obviously, with just the size difference, which is a 1.0. So 1.0 is a perfect size to use. This hook is extremely sharp, extremely strong. I've landed brusher on the 1.0 hook, and that tends to happen when you're fishing for bream quite often. Okay, let's get into the trace quickly. On your fluorocarbon side, you can start with anything about from 20 pound all the way up to 40 pound. Depends the area that you're fishing. I like to stay in between 30 pound, perfect, ideal. So I'm just going to make this with a J hook trace to show you guys a little protection knot that I make. So it's still a normal figure of 8 on the hook, but I make it with a very long tag and I'll show you why now. Just 3 loops through the hole there, guys. Plain and simple. Bit of lubrication. Lock that in. Okay, then what I do from there is I just create a twist. Now that's basically causing a bit of protection on the fluorocarbon there, on the line. And then once I created a twist, it's just a normal granny knot, half inch, whatever you want to call it. Um, yeah, just a little granny knot to lock that in place. And that creates two things. It creates me a bit of more protection there, and then also an anchor point for my bait. So you guys can see that. That all it is. It's a nice place, especially when you're fishing prawn. It's a nice anchor point for your prawn, or even if you're fishing a cracker, when you're threading it through, it actually locks onto the cracker. They're quite nice. So I'm just going to trim the tag in there. Generally, your trace length can vary, obviously with sea size and whatever. You want more movement, you can make it longer. Generally, mine's are normally averaged around 30 centimeters, 25, 30 centimeters there. Just going to cut that off there, allowing a little bit extra for my knot. For now, we're going to use the small bead. This is a 10 millimeter, but we make different sizes traces, or you can just cut it up on the beach and change it. So back to our trace, we got our hook, little protection knot there, our bead, and then now I'm going to add my gummy stop. And I'll show you exactly why we add the gummy stop once I get it on. Okay, a bit of a finicky thing to do. This one here let me down. Normally it's not this hard. some reason it's giving me some problem. There, it's on. So what this allows me to do now is to actually set the float, how high it wants to float up in the line. So without this, it actually, when you hit the water, it might go straight up, or sometimes it stays down. With the gummy stop, if I want to stop it right at the bottom where my bait is, I can. If I want to move it a little bit up, I can allow the float. Just by moving the gummy stop there, to allow the float to move up there. So that's a nice tip. And then if you don't want it, you can obviously slide it right up to your swivel and then it'll act like a normal, like it wasn't there. So it's a good add-on to your trace. So we're just going to leave that down there for now. On the combination swivel, like how we explain always, the one that spins around. So this is a 5x6. So that's your size 6 swivel. That's your size 5 swivel. On the size 6 swivel, we're going to tie our hook snoot. Normal figure of 8 there, guys. Bit of lubrication. Lock it in place. Cut off your tie again. So that's basically the trace, guys. Plain simple. The guys wanted to know on the previous videos, they wanted to know where would I tie my sinker. So that's my hook snoot now. If you're looking at the swivel that's spinning on top, where the swivel is spinning on top, that will go to your main line. And then the swivel that's bottom there, that will be your sinker line. So you'll tie your sinker line there, generally like a 20-pound, 25-pound sinker line, something thin, because remember for bream, you're going to be fishing in that reef. And then all I'm going to do is make it longer, about a foot's length, longer than my hook. So my hook would stop, if my hook, for argument's sake, stops there, my sinker would be like somewhere there. And then obviously thinner sinker line, so if you do get snagged on a rock, you will just break off. Ideally, you want to fish with a bottle sinker, what we know as a bottle sinker or an egg sinker. Let it move around in the brick, find the fish, more or less. So yeah, as I explained before, the gummy stop, if you don't want to use it, you can slide it up to the top of your swivel like that, and your bead will move freely. If you want it to stop your bead at a certain point, you can just stop it there, and that's not going to go past that. So yeah, guys, that's my plain and simple bronze bream trace. The only thing different in I do if I'm fishing a circle hook is I will snell it or tie a figure of 8 on the shank and replace the J hook there. Otherwise than that, the trace is more or less the same. Thanks, guys.